everyone. This is Donna's Happy Hour. Just a reminder to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you get future notifications of the videos. And please leave a comment. Thank you. Have a great day. Today, I have Mr. Kevin Owen with me. And Kevin wrote a book called Time in the Catskills. And Kevin, I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Donna.
I had the great opportunity to meet Kevin at the public library here in Port Jervis, where he was actually talking about his book. His book is about and it's a true story about a serial female killer. And Kevin, I have to tell you that I did a little research because I found it so fascinating. I like to read true stories, true murder, crime, all of that. That I know it could be a little morbid, but it does appeal to me. And what's very interesting is that the percentage of serial killers is 96% male. And what drives a man to be a serial killer and what drives a woman to be a serial killer are two different reasons, two different things. And what I found interesting is that for a woman, it's usually they either have psychiatric problems or it's that they were abused in childhood, is what they say, which I found kind of fascinating. And of course, then there is always but that's usually not a serial killer in the sense if you find somebody that kills their husband,
Well, the subject of my book is Lizzie Halliday, who is a infamous killer from 1893 in Burlingame, New York. It was found that she had killed her husband and buried him under the kitchen floor, as well as some women who apparently she had no connection with. The connection came out later through investigation. But you're right that it does seem to be a psychological condition for women. The most common element, either male or female, is that they like to exert control over their victims. So that ultimate control being, taking their life, or
right.
In this case, Lizzie might have even made them agonize over the fact that she was going to kill them. That is control or power over the victims.
Yes, yeah.
Which fulfills them psychologically in some other way. And then also serial killers, that power and control becomes a sexual thing, even though there is no physical contact with the victim of a sexual nature. That power and control becomes sexual,
right?
Yeah,
right.
So I'd be interested in hearing some trained professionals, forensic psychologists, criminal psychologists, give me their opinions on Lizzie. But that was part of my overwhelming interest in researching this.
Right.
What was her motive, if any? Can we really understand her motive?
Well, and the other thing that they did say is that a lot of times it's for financial gain, which was kind of interesting. And not so much for the men, but for the women, it was more financial gain, which is, in either case, you're dealing with minds that don't work quite like the norm,
Right. That's why it's hard to kind of grasp what the motive is for someone like Lizzie Halliday, because we don't understand her psychology. As you said, she might have been abused. Her early years aren't documented in that sense. Her other family members never came forward and said she had been abused. Obviously, from quotes from her family and also quotes from law enforcement at the time, she had a overwhelming personal strength and was not afraid to use that against other people.
I quickly became inundated with stores of information that needed to be fact-checked, sorted, and placed in a timeline of Lizzie's lifespan, if any sense of her crimes was going to make sense. I had a wall next to my computer. It was I had created a long banner and started to place her birth date and her death date, and I was attempting to fill in every stage of her life. Because I don't know if anybody's searched for her on Wikipedia, but there's about 7 paragraphs, and they don't all fill the blanks. After I had started to put up sticky notes, taped up newspaper articles, everything just shy of the yarn that you've seen on the Zodiac Killer movies, my wife started to get very concerned. In short, a true crime detective was born. To me, a complete biographical timeline of Lizzie's past would be essential in determining the motives, if any, in her murders, and if her defense of insanity was plausible. What I found was a startling lifestyle of indefensible crimes perpetrated by the same woman who stood trial in Sullivan County, New York in the late 1800s for 3 brutal homicides and was suspected of many more. Burlingham, New York, in the summer of 1893. It was a quaint slice of rural Americana, nestled in the lower Catskill region, and had become a favorite getaway for those looking to retreat to the bucolic countryside over the summer months. Most farmhouses in the area catered to the summer boarders, and the following is directly from a document found at the Mamakating Historical Society. Quote, in 1893, the town of Burlingham had a church, school, town hall, general store / post office, a sawmill, and a grist mill on the Kill. It also had several livery stables, a blacksmith, as well as a wagon shop. Sounds like a movie I've seen once. The late summer of 1893 was to quickly become very different for those visiting as well as those living in Burlingham. The last week of August through the first week of September was to become known as a week of accumulated horrors, as dubbed by the Monticello paper called the Republican Watchman of 1893. Basically, what all Paul Halliday's neighbors had learned was he was missing. So this is basically the information we have as we learn about the case. Neighbors had reported to Paul Halliday's son, Paul Jr., that his father had not been seen around his own property, and that they had become concerned. Paul Jr. visits the farm and is greeted by his stepmother, Lizzie. She explains that his father is not home and shows him a nice ring, explaining that it was a gift from Paul Sr. While leaving the property, Paul Jr. notices that the house is being watched by law enforcement. After a time and much discussion, they get a search warrant, but Lizzie won't cooperate.